My fiancé cheated on me with my married, pregnant sister. On my wedding day, I exposed their affair by showing everyone their intimate texts and photos. His family cut ties with him, and he was fired after his boss witnessed the drama. My brother-in-law discovered his daughter was not his through a paternity test, divorced my sister, and left her broke due to a prenup. Now my family blames me for ruining her life. AITA. I, 29F, was preparing to marry the love of my life, or so I thought. Everything seemed perfect until I stumbled upon something that shattered my entire world. A series of messages on my fiancé's 31M phone. He had been having an affair with my sister, 33F, and to make matters worse, she was pregnant. At first, I assumed it was her husband's child, but as I read further, I realized the betrayal went far deeper than I could have imagined. My sister and I were close growing up. I never thought she could do something like this, but the evidence was right there. Late-night texts, intimate conversations, even explicit pictures. My heart dropped, and I felt completely lost. How could the two people I trusted most betray me like this? I didn't confront them immediately. Instead, I spent days in agony, unsure of how to handle the situation. Should I cancel the wedding? Should I talk to them privately? Every time I looked at my wedding dress, I felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and humiliation. I couldn't believe this was happening to me just weeks before the most important day of my life. But then, something snapped in me. I wasn't going to let them ruin my life without facing any consequences. I decided to move forward with the wedding, but not in the way anyone expected. On the day of the wedding, as everyone was seated, waiting for the ceremony to begin, I stepped up to the mic. My heart was pounding, but I knew I had to go through with it. Instead of walking down the aisle, I signaled for a presentation to begin. What followed was a collection of flirty text messages, intimate photos of their affair projected onto a massive screen in front of all our family and friends. The room fell silent as everyone realized what was happening. My fiancé's face went pale, and my sister looked like she wanted to disappear. Among the guests was my fiancé's boss, who had come to celebrate our marriage but ended up witnessing this disaster. As if things couldn't get worse for them, my brother-in-law 36M decided to run a paternity test on their eldest daughter, who's 3 years old. It turns out she wasn't his biological child. He filed for divorce immediately, and because of their prenup, my sister was left with nothing. She lost her home, her husband, and her reputation, all in the span of a few weeks. Now she's back living with our parents, and they're furious with me. According to them, I should have handled the situation privately, without embarrassing the entire family. My sister has been reaching out, blaming me for her downfall and accusing me of destroying her life. She says I ruined her marriage and her relationship with our parents. My parents have sided with her, cutting me off completely. As for my ex-fiancé, his life fell apart too. His boss fired him, his family disowned him, and he's essentially been blacklisted by everyone who attended the wedding. He tried to spin the narrative by claiming I humiliated him unfairly, but the evidence was undeniable. Now he's blaming me for his ruined career, even though he's the one who caused all of this. I won't lie. There's a part of me that feels satisfied seeing them face the consequences of their actions. But another part of me wonders, did I go too far? Was it wrong to publicly expose them the way I did? Should I have kept it private and saved them the humiliation, or did they deserve everything that came their way? So, Reddit, AITA, for airing their dirty laundry in front of everyone on what should have been my wedding day? Or was I justified in making sure the truth came out? I never wanted kids, but my husband did. After I gave birth, he became distant and filed for divorce within a year, leaving me to care for our daughter. When I offered him full custody, he freaked out because he didn't want the responsibility either. Now, my ex-mother-in-law is shaming me into keeping my daughter and calling me a bad mother. AITA for wanting to give up my daughter when I never wanted her in the first place? I, 31F, have been together with my husband Alex, 33M, for 7 years, married for 4 years. Alex was always really excited about the prospect of children from the beginning of our relationship. I was always on the fence. I've seen how hard single moms have it. I promised myself I'd never be in that position. Plus, I work as a software engineer. I love my career, and I didn't want to give it up to be a mom. After Alex and I got married, those fears went away. We were very much in love. I felt safe with him. I told him my fears, and he said all the right things to make them vanish. So we tried for a baby and had our daughter Ramona 2 years after we got married. The pregnancy and first year with the baby was extremely hard on me. I had multiple health problems during and after the pregnancy that were life-threatening and altered my body permanently. I was disabled and nearly died once in the 6 months after I gave birth, and during this time my husband grew distant and became angry frequently when we'd speak. I spent a lot of time in and out of the hospital and was unable to work, so a lot of the baby care went to him during this time. It was all I could do to stay alive and get better, being separated from my daughter and husband so much. Eventually, I did get better enough to help more with the baby, but after I was discharged from the hospital, he barely spoke to me. I want to clarify early that at no time did I ever neglect our daughter if I was able to care for her. I leaned on him a lot during this period, but I was also fighting for my health and my life so that I could continue to be there for her. If I had pushed myself too hard, I would have made it worse, or be dead. We stayed in a state of limbo like this for a while. I was still in recovery, not back to 100% yet, but able to resume a somewhat normal life, and we shared more responsibility with Ramona. I tried talking to him many times over the next 6 months, but it was more of the same thing. He wouldn't speak to me, or he'd get angry, and every little thing I did, insist I was making things up and blame me for somehow criticizing him. It was a constant deflection from whatever was bothering him. I got another job about 9 months after the pregnancy, and things seemed to improve for a while, or at least I thought. Not long after Ramona's first birthday, Alex served me with divorce papers. He said he'd fallen out of love with me a long time ago, and he was ready to start anew. I was in shock. Things had started to improve between us, but he explained that was because he'd decided to leave and he felt less unhappy. It was a Saturday when this happened, so I made sure he was going to be home to care for Ramona for the weekend. Then I packed a bag and left until Sunday evening. I didn't say where I was going, and truthfully, I didn't really go anywhere but drive. I drove 2 states over by the time I stopped. I needed to think. When I got back Sunday evening, he was pissed I'd left him alone with our daughter. He's always seemed really put off any time he had to care for her alone. This time was no exception. I sat him down and very carefully said, "I will grant you a no-contest divorce, but I am not accepting full custody of Ramona." If he was only pissed before, he was explosive now, and everything he hated about me finally came out. That I was a horrible mother, that I wasn't strong enough to even be a mother, that I was too weak to carry a child, and now I was abandoning her. I very calmly stated that I loved her dearly and would not abandon her, that I would pay child support and visit her every other weekend, that I would be there for her in any way I could, but I had been very clear with him when we got married that I would never be a single mom. He became borderline violent at this, grabbing things like he was going to throw them and screaming that I was ruining his life on purpose. I wasn't going to stick around to be talked to like this, so I went and checked on Ramona, gave her a kiss, then grabbed my bag and left again. A couple days later, his mother texted me. He'd left Ramona with her for a few days, and she had some nasty things to say to me, that a mother should never leave her child, etc. I told her it wasn't her business and that her son doesn't get a free pass to restart his life because his wife nearly died when she was pregnant and he became resentful with the responsibility. He's also blown up my phone asking me when I'm going to come back, so you can take your daughter. But I've only replied, "I've already told you what's going to happen here. I love my daughter immensely and I will be a provider for her. I will always support her, but I won't be her primary parent. So, AITA,